Hi everyone, this is a Draftaholic's guide to Green-Black Constrictor. We're going to get you ready for Nationals 2017 and we're here with Julian To and he's going to go through and tell us how this deck works.
Hey, so this deck is in essence a green-black mid-range deck. They've been around in Magic for a long time, but in this case we've the build around is a card called Winding Constrictor, which pretty much makes any of your cards which use counters makes it better. So like Walking Ballista, a lot of decks used to play Energy, but we don't anymore. So this list we have here is sort of like a hybrid version. We play Traverse the Ulvenwald, but we don't really play that many Delirium cards. And we, instead of playing cards like Tireless Tracker, we got stuff like Catacomb Sifter just as a concession to Mono Red. One card makes 2 blockers. And instead of Grimflayer, we're playing stuff like Sylvan Advocate, once again a concession to Mono Red, because you can attack and block at the same time, essentially. So this deck, you got 8 removal spells, and you just got a bunch of creatures, and you've got Traverse to help smooth out your land drops, which you only have 22 of. And then in the late game, you can get haymakers such as Ishkana, which is once again really good against Mono Red.
Yeah. Okay, so your general idea here is get your Constrictor out, make some big threats, build up some big threats.
Yeah.
What are you gonna win against with this deck?
So green-black mid-range decks generally have very flat win percentages. They'll be okay against everything. No matchup's is gonna be unlosable, and no matchups are gonna be unwinnable. Your strengths are mainly against in this case, in this particular build, you're really good against Mono Red. You've geared the deck to beat it. But really, you can configure it to beat most decks without being a complete dog in the matchup. So the deck is really good against Mono Red. It can have a tough time against zombies, and you're good against other aggro decks that maybe aren't blisteringly fast.
And so how do you get beaten? What isn't good against a mid-rangey type deck like this?
Well, because you've configured this particular build to be on the defensive, you're not exactly the fastest deck in the format, so you will struggle against decks which punish you for not having a super fast clock. So you do struggle against ramp because you just can't kill them fast enough, and they will cast their big spells on time. You can also struggle against decks like Blue Rider Approach. You don't have any way to interact with their spells. You can't interact in the stack. So you can't kill them fast enough. They play a lot of defensive cards, and they will resolve an approach because you don't have blue spells to counter it.
And from there, there's not much way back. So over here, we've got the lands laid out. Is again a lot of things that we've seen in lots of decks in Standard at the moment are many utility lands. What have you got in here?
So in this case, we don't play any of the deserts that a lot of decks have started to play. We just play some dual lands, and we play the creature lands. Notice there is not a 4th Hissing Quagmire, but it's a minor thing you can change. You can force the 4th if you want. We are playing Evolving Wilds just to help get Delirium, and we play a lot of basics, so you will consistently hit your 4th and 5th land untapped.
Which is very important when you've got a Gear Hulk ready to come down.
Yeah, and an Ishkana, like big Walking Ballistas on 6, etc.
Okay, so how do you use your sideboard in this deck? What cards have you got in there, and what matchups do you bring them in against?
So, well, most of the cards are either just value cards or kind of like silver bullets against specific decks. So we've got your Henny's Expertise, just a sweeper against the zombies decks. You've got just some better removal to interact with planeswalkers, and you've got some as we said, your deck has trouble against decks, like you can't punish your opponent for keeping clunky hands. You're not that fast. So games do go along with this deck even if you're winning. So you do need ways to strip the haymakers from your opponent's deck. So if you've got cards like Lost Legacy and Dispossess, if you want to strip a Godfarrow's Gift from your opponent's deck, or Lost Legacy and Ulamog. You've also got like a generic catch-all in the form of Transgress. Like we can't interact with the stack, but we can make them, opponent discard their approach before they get to cast it. And to top it all off, we've got just some generic value cards like Sky Sovereign and Gonti. It's good in the mirror, it's good in the grindy matchups. Sky Sovereign's really good against zombies, etc., etc.
Excellent. I noticed we haven't talked about. We've got Nissa over here. How does Nissa help in this deck?
Well, Nissa just kind of sits there and makes plant tokens. She's not that interesting. But if you look at the -2 ability, it's very good with your Winding Constrictor. By ticking Nissa down, you get to put 2 counters on all your creatures if your Constrictor's around. And, if you have Catacomb Sifter making 2 creatures on turn 4, you're putting 6 counters on your creatures if you played Snake on turn 2.
Yeah, so that's a lot of +2/+2s you're getting.
Absolutely.
You're getting for free there. All right, thanks a lot for going through this deck, Julian.
No worries.
And everyone, if you like counters, I think this is probably the deck for you.